Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 183, Tyler. It takes a Zillum, recorded on Friday, January 28th, 2022. From Zenatta Consulting, I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
Yes, we shall. And as always, we're going to start off with our announcements and events. We have got a webinar coming up here, our February webinar, and it's going to be on February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day. There will be a lot of love in our hearts, Tyler. And we will we will we will go through the Zoho CRM full product tutorial. This is always one of our more popular ones. It is right up there with our Zoho One overview, and I am
Yep.
looking forward to that. And we have completely revamped our events page. So if you go over there now, you can basically see all of the upcoming events, and we've got this nifty little form here on the side. You actually can go ahead and sign up for all of our events. So we're actually going to add something here. If you want to be reminded of the CRM Zen Show live and you get these updates so you can watch us live, we'll do that as well. But you can go ahead and sign up for all of these. We'll add them to your calendar. You are good to go in advance rather than just kind of going one-off. So if you don't get a chance, head over here. And it's not just our events. We cover all the events that Zoho's doing, other partners are doing, all of that kind of stuff. So really good. So as always, kind of head on over there, and I think you will be surprised with all of the great events that Zoho has and we have, and we hope you enjoy those. And today, Tyler, we have a special guest that's going to be
That
joining
we
us,
do.
Peter Fuller from the Workflow Academy. Peter, you're going to head off our news here today because in the world of Zoho news, you kind of have some of the biggest news that came out this week. And if you aren't familiar, Peter heads up the best Zoho training curriculum academy that you can find. And you guys kind of had a big announcement, Peter. So why don't you tell us all about it?
Yes, thanks for having me on again, guys. You actually, this is really sentimental for me because you got me my first break. My first actual customer came after appearing the first time on the show. So we've switched to a completely free model for our self-guided Zoho training. It took a long time. We originally it was pay by the course, and then we switched to a subscription model, and now we've realized most of the money we make in education is actually training new people to join Zoho partners and Zoho customers as admins. So we said, hey, we make money in other ways, let's give it all away for free. So we have right now self-guided courses on the entirety of Zoho One, so kind of a Zoho One overview. And then we really focus on Zoho CRM, Zoho Analytics, and in particular, Deluge. It has long been said, and I really appreciate everyone's feedback. We're the only and the best show in Deluge Education Town. We make it approachable. We really focus on teaching it to non-programmers. So really, what we're trying to do here is step in where Zoho sometimes has dropped the ball. If you look at even Zoho Spark, I hadn't seen this until last week. Zoho actually removed all of their self-guided trainings from their website. So now the only thing that they have is one-on-one coaching and classroom training. That's like book 8 hours and sit in the classroom and listen to someone talk. So for anyone that is like me and can't suffer sitting on a Zoom call listening to people talk, the approach here is completely self-guided. Step in, take 5 videos at a time. On average, they're 2 minutes long. We walk you through a demo setup of each of these Zoho applications, so you're actually doing it in real time alongside us. And the feedback that we're getting is that most Zoho employees and partners recommend us over Zoho's own material. So
Yeah,
And we totally do. I
it's
mean, we send our clients over your way when they're looking to learn about, setting things up themselves. 'Cause of course, we do a lot of customization, but it's good to have internal people at your own company, right, who can
yes,
actually use these systems. And honestly, I mean, we put our new team members through the course as well, even if they've got a pretty solid background in Zoho. What we found is that, your courses do a great job either, getting someone those first steps or maybe rounding out a skill set for someone who might have been using Zoho for a little while. So it's pretty great
Yeah.
that they're free now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. We've
Yeah.
got John Otta's in chat right now, and he actually is heading up our whole new finance group over here at Zenatta. And John has a huge background in finance, and he came over, and so he's heading up that group. But we needed him to really get up to speed on all the other Zoho stuff. And you were kind enough, like 3-4 weeks ago, to say, "Hey, here you go." And John's just talking about how he really likes the courses. I mean, they are good, it's super good.
And
I
they're
mean, even if you
funny.
have a coder, they are funny. Yes, entertaining, which is what they
I
should be. So
appreciate it. John from Zenatta was the first. He was the one that I was like, wait a second, let's just start giving this away for free, because now everyone's going to use it, right? Now there's no but when you recommend it. There's no, hey,
Yep.
watch these courses, but they cost money. Just recommend them, use them. Anyone that does Zoho, I think, can get value.
I
Absolutely.
totally agree. It's fantastic, and the stuff you guys do there. So, what courses are you guys coming out with? Anything you're planning on adding to the curriculum?
Zoho Desk, Zoho Projects, and Zoho Books are the big white whales right now. So Zoho Desk will be coming out in a couple weeks, and then Projects and Books in the next couple months. The other one that I'm really excited about is we're doing a bunch of Deluge case studies. So we're making courses where instead of teaching specific concepts in Deluge, it'll be more like watch the intro courses, learn the concepts, and then 5 or 6 create a custom function to push from CRM to books, something from desk to CRM, a creator app or two. So actually getting you reps building in Zoho. And again, we're kind of double dipping. Yes, we like teaching everyone and letting the greater Zoho ecosystem use our courses, but really the focus for us too is using those courses to train new Zoho employees that come on and work as administrators at Zoho customers or as consultants at Zoho partners. Zenatta's hired a couple from us that are still kicking around
We have some great ones.
employees we
Yes.
trained.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, it's a great, Greg and one of actually our head developer, he's in chat here, and he's saying, Peter got me started in Zoho. He's a great instructor. So Greg was a full blown coder, and
Yep.
but he needed the whole Zoho side, and it's kind of coming in, and it's, it's one of those things. It really can launch a career. I mean, if people are looking for
Yes.
work and they want to get in the world of Zoho, they can take your courses and get that foundation that they need to get going. So, you're doing God's work here, Peter.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's if you go and look at Indeed, you can go search Salesforce admin and 10 million positions show up. And if you search Zoho admin, there's like 1 or 2 companies maybe hiring a contract developer somewhere, right? But there's demand. We know there's demand, right? Partners want them, customers want them. So yeah, that is the other piece of our puzzle. That's where we make most of our money now. Is we can take someone in the U.S. We get them government Department of Labor subsidies to help train them up, and we get them placed with you. So if anyone listening is looking to hire, that's a conversation we can have as well.
We're looking to hire here, Peter, constantly.
Yeah,
Just
I
keep
was gonna
sending them
say
over.
Brett and I have a call on Monday to talk more, because he's a voracious devourer of talent.
Yes, it's well, that's funny. I actually was talking to another Zoho partner this morning across the pond, Lucy from A to Z Cloud, who's just one of the larger partners over in England. And it's talent. That's the thing. We're talking about our businesses and what's holding us back, and it's getting that talent, people that
Yes.
know Zoho, people that have that. And anyway, it's really, really good. So, anything else you want to plug, Peter?
No, I give us feedback on courses you want built. Give us feedback on skills that are underserved by Zoho. Bug Zoho to
Yeah.
spread the word on our courses even more. Yeah, I appreciate you
Yeah.
guys. I love coming on here. I'll
All
come
right.
on.
No worries.
I'll come on in 9 months when I don't know what's the next change we can make. Paying people to do our courses. I don't know how we can make this even
Yeah.
better.
And if people want to find you, they go to theworkflowacademy.com. Is that correct?
Correct.
Fantastic. And we just threw it up on the bottom of the screen if you're watching this on YouTube, but it's theworkflowacademy.com. Peter, thanks so much for joining us, buddy. I'll talk to you next week.
Yep. Appreciate you guys.
All right.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, man. Take care, guy. Bye-bye. All righty. Well,
Right.
Tyler, with that, shall we get into the news?
Let us do it.
Let us get into the news, and we will start off with Zoho has a new bundle. And this is one that had all of us rather scratching our head this week. It's called Zillum, and it is Zoho for the family, if you will. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting application. Basically, what they're doing, I'll click in here to kind of show the applications, but it's they call it one space for your family, and this basically includes you get email, file storage, chat through Zoho Click. You've got password security through Zoho Vault, Zoho Calendar, and tasking. And the pricing on this is really kind of crazy. I'm talking super darn cheap. If you want to have, 5 members of your family, it's basically $9.17 a month billed annually, which I'm guessing is $100. Yeah, is that what that is? No,
Should
it's got to be
be.
a little more, 120, something like.
It
No,
should
it's
be
got
right
to be.
around there.
I don't know. Yeah, a little more. And then you've got, for 10 members, you're at $16.67 for $200 a year. You basically can have 10 members of your family handle all the email. They're even doing custom domains on the email. So you can get your
Mhm.
own little family email domain and do all of these kind of things. I don't know. Is this another gateway drug? What's going on here?
Who knows? This is an interesting one. I know that Zoho's always been interested at creating applications that are more targeted at the consumer level. Most of their apps are always business applications that are not really used by like individual people. But if you think about something like the Google Suite that covers a lot of these same types of applications like mail and file storage and the full office, I could see where they are looking at some opportunity there, right? If they can create a product that can compete with a Google for, that consumer business. It is kind of interesting. It's a little outside of what their brand would normally be associated with, but I think that's on purpose, right? I'm thinking that this is kind of a plan or part of a longer stream plan to maybe get a little bit more exposure. Definitely an interesting one. I love the idea of a family chore board being hosted inside of Zoho Tasks. Get your time tracking going, paying allowances based on the number of hours worked on your tasks. Definitely a kind of funny concept, but there is a market for it. People do get family plans for G Suite or family plans for, Office
Yep.
365. Um, will be interesting to see. Be very interesting to see if they get a lot of
I
adoption
know.
on this.
I don't know. And our show titles are done up internally by Greg, and this one was we chose It Takes a Zillum, but he also had Zillum, a place to keep all of your cat photos safe and secure, um, something like that. I'm paraphrasing. So anyway, I don't know what to make of this. I don't think we'll see much of it here internally, but it's interesting. Why not?
Yeah, who
Right?
knows? Why not?
Why
That's
not?
interesting with
I mean,
Zoho.
there's
When you already have all these applications created and polished, you can kind of create these bundled products without a lot of development cost, right? It doesn't really cost them much to try out this experiment and see if a product like this could take hold.
And it's pretty cheap. I mean, that $200 a year for 10 people, I think the closest one to this is Workplace, right?
Mhm.
That's the closest thing. You get a little bit more. But
Yeah, you
even
get
on
meetings,
Workplace,
Connect.
yeah. I mean, but even in Workplace, you're getting the same thing, but you are paying. I mean, you'd be paying $500 a month or for 10 people, you'd be paying what, $30, 360. So, I mean, you could go with just the straight Workplace app and kind of get everything you got there with a few more things added in. I mean, the big one is Meeting and Connect, right? So kind of interesting. But another bundle that needs to be added. So we'll see what that looks like. So anyway, that is Zillum. All right, and then moving on, this is kind of interesting. You can now Zoho Sign has an extension for HubSpot. HubSpot, if you don't know, is another CRM and marketing automation tool. Does both, and you've got this nifty little extension here, and That's it. So if you're using HubSpot and you want to use Zoho Signs to DocuSign, you can. Kind of interesting. If you go to install the extension, we're not showing it here, but the URL on this is API-osync-oapps.xyz. I do not
Yeah, OAPS is
have
actually they're a marketplace partner, if I remember correctly. They've got a couple different applications in the Zoho marketplace.
OAPS
Wonder if
XYZ.
Zoho, yeah, I wonder if Zoho maybe worked with them to get this built out and deployed because I know they've got a couple other plugins. I can't think of any off the top of my head,
Well,
but
I'm
you'd
bringing
probably
them up right
find them
here.
in the.
Oh yeah, they've got a whole bunch here. So
Mhm.
OAPS is the one that's pushing this out. I like the XYZ domain. I didn't know about that one. That's kind of a
I've always
different
liked the consultant
hierarchical
or
domain.
consulting domain. I always wanted us to be
Yeah,
Zenatta.consulting, but it cost about $3,000 a year, so we didn't
yeah,
go that way.
yeah. So OAPS XYZ. So anyway, you can check that out. And that is the extension for HubSpot. And then moving on, talk to me about this one. So we've got enhancements to email notifications. You had a chance to look over this?
Yeah, so this is basically a change if you wanted to send a automated email from the CRM and you wanted to send it to multiple people, but you want it to be a mass email. So previously, the way that this worked is that you would choose a primary recipient of an email, and then you could choose some additional recipients in the email activity in the workflow. But when that email would actually get sent, it would send it independently to each person that was in that list. It wouldn't create one chain or one email that goes to multiple people. So now they're giving you the option to actually send it as a mass email where you'd have 3 or 4 people in the to line, right? Or in the CC line that are all a part of that email. This is actually a really, really nice enhancement for those who need it. Like there are a lot of people in the real estate space that I would imagine would love this, right? You're working
Yep.
a sell side transaction, you move it to a certain stage, and you want a workflow that's going to notify the buying agent as well as the buying agent's lawyer and the buying agent's client, but you actually want to send one email to all 3 of those people so that they can all see it and respond together and create a new email chain. Well, this is now actually letting you do that. So for those kinds of people who have a lot of different stakeholders in a transaction, this is really,
Yeah.
really valuable, even though it seems like a minor update.
Yeah. So I get it. So in the past, it would always send them out as singles, right? No matter
Yeah, it
what
would
you did,
basically send
nobody was CC'd
3
on the entire thing.
individual emails. Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Alrighty, and moving on here. This is kind of minor, but if you are in the mobile application using Begin, you can just go ahead and subscribe directly to the Premier application. So you can upgrade your subscription inside of the mobile app. Little PSA there. That's pretty much all we've got. Not really much more to say about that.
Nope, that
And
covers it.
also in the Begin mobile app, secondary contacts is now supported. This is an interesting feature. Um, so you can now have the secondary contacts. You have this in the CRM. What do they call them? Related contacts, I think, inside the CRM,
Well,
inside a
it's a little
deal.
different. They call it contact roles in the CRM. The
Contact roles,
secondary
yes.
contacts inside of Bigin is a little different in that it's really just kind of like a multi-select here.
Got
So
it.
a little different than your contact roles, but now they're showing it there on the mobile app, which for Bigin is a must-have. I think anything that you're doing in the Bigin browser client, you need to be able to do in the app because I think most people are going to use this on their phone. So good job to Zoho. I think almost anything that gets released in Bigin should be released immediately on the app whenever possible because that's
Yeah,
really the main way that people
that's
are going to use it.
it's really the only way it's used. It really is. So fantastic. All right. And then moving on with Zoho News, the last bit of news here is they've got in the Zoho Sprints iOS mobile app, they just have some really kind of minor enhancements. They now support, I don't know if they're minor or not, multi-user pick lists, custom field types are now supported on mobile. That's pretty important that they
Mhm.
had that. So, a lot of little cleanup things that needed to kind of be put in there. They can now delete projects from the Manage Projects manual. This, of course, if you have permissions to delete those projects, you can go ahead and do that. And you could delete project users as well. So just kind of a bunch of little minor tweaks to the mobile app inside of Zoho Sprints iOS. So I don't really think there's much more to say about that, Tyler, is there?
Yeah, I think that covers it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the implementation of the week. What do we have?
Yeah, so this is one here when we're working with CRM and QuickBooks Online. So what we found is that, for a lot of clients, once they start drinking the Kool-Aid, right, and implementing more and more Zoho applications, they end up making the switch from QuickBooks Online over to Zoho Books. But not everybody does that, right? You might have a CFO who is insistent on QuickBooks. Maybe you're doing some complicated progress billing and it just works better to keep it there. Every now and then it just is a non-starter to migrate the whole accounting system over. But we still want the systems to be able to communicate. When a deal gets won in the CRM, you love to be able to, automatically create and send that invoice. Just going to speed up your cash cycle, reduce some of the manual labor going into just keying in invoice line item data and things like that. And so really what we do here is, and there's a couple ways to tackle it. This is just the most common one that we use. What we'll do is create a subform on the deal. That subform is basically like a little table inside of your CRM deal where you can capture all your various line items. So, you're pulling in products, you're assigning them quantities, maybe you're doing some discounting or pricing there. And then at the end of the day, once you are ready to invoice, this could be based on a stage being changed or, a custom button being pressed. We'll basically go ahead and organize that data from the deal and kick it over to QuickBooks Online to create that invoice. Now, from there, if you wanted to create and send it, you could do that. You could create it and save it as a draft if you do want to have a little manual review before an invoice goes out. And then last but not least, once that invoice is created, we can actually grab a direct URL to that invoice and bring it back to the deal and store it there so that if anyone is ever looking at the deal, they can very quickly and easily jump over to QuickBooks Online and get straight to that invoice. Now, I'll also highlight, this kind of ties in well with an implementation that we talked about a month ago, where
Actually,
we're
we're actually going to show that implementation this week. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And so this ties in pretty well to the notion of, having all these invoices in QuickBooks, pulling them into analytics, and then displaying them as a custom related list via XML inside of Zoho. So it's kind of the beginning part to that implementation, where if you're doing it this way, you're going to have all those connections and naming conventions lined up how you need them so that you can display those invoices without much data management.
Yep. Nice. It's interesting. We have basically abandoned any out-of-the-box QuickBooks integration at this point in time, it seems.
Yep.
Right? I mean, everything is
Just doing it
either,
all with,
doing it all with Deluge and other magical
yeah.
things, right? Pushing
The one
stuff
that
up
we
into
do
analytics.
use, yeah, the one that we do use that is off the shelf is the QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop syncs to analytics.
Right.
For the, the XML list where you display them, that's just such an easy, simple, and, error-proof way to get all that data into the Zoho ecosystem, and then from there we can do whatever we need from it. But yeah, we used to do some of that with Flow, when you'd kind of create a simple invoice and, do it that way. But, as we brought on, better, faster, and smarter people around our Deluge usage, we found that just tapping into the API directly is the easiest way to go.
Yeah, and we got a question here from the chat room. It's Curtis. By the way, I apologize for my blurriness, everybody. I'm not sure what's going on here. We've got and Curtis wants to know, is there an integration with QuickBooks Desktop? There is one you can do. There's actually a company called ZBrains. And if you go to zbrains.com, they actually do have that type of integration. So in order to make that work, you have to install a third-party widget third-party application on wherever your desktop is, and you can do a synchronization that way. It's worth taking a look at, I think.
Yeah, and they do also have, I think with that integration, you'd be using like the CRM native sales orders and invoices, right? And then they sync over. If you just cared about seeing the QuickBooks data inside of Zoho, you could connect that to analytics and then surface it that way. So if you're not needing to pass data back and forth, I'd recommend doing that just for your reporting and visibility. But if you do need to kind of start a process in CRM and then hand it off to QuickBooks Desktop, that's where you'll want to look at something like that ZBrains plugin.
Yeah. Alrighty, and with that, let's go on to our reads of the week. The first one, the ultimate list of marketing statistics 2022. HubSpot. This is the craziest list I have ever seen. I don't even know if they don't even put a timer on what this read is, because this read is it's it's just so ridiculously long. But basically they're breaking them down. So search engine optimization statistics, and some of these are from 2021, some are from 2020, but it's the very, very latest. It's not just from HubSpot, it's from so many different sources. They're just pulling all the kind of dates, all of the information they can. They go from Unbounce and Kibo and Edison Research and the Smart Audio Report. I mean, man, oh man, if there's anything you want to know about anything as far as metrics, this is it. So just a list of, man, content marketing. I mean, this is so many
Just
stats.
a
It's just
massive
mind
data
boggling.
dump here. Yeah.
It's just a huge data dump. I mean, crazy stuff like, on Facebook, 69% of Americans use Facebook. 98.3% of Facebook users access it on the mobile app. LinkedIn, 774 million users. I mean, it just goes, you want to know what it's just data, 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 data. And if you're a social media person, you're a marketing person, you get in, there's a whole video marketing statistics section here. It's crazy. So this is every stat any marketing person would ever want, basically compiled on one page. So I don't even know what to do with it. Man, if you're writing this is like just great resource. Great, great, great
Yep. If
resource. So we
you're in
thought that
charge
we'd
of
point that out.
marketing research for your company, your job has been done for you here.
Um,
This is going to gather just about every relevant statistic across any channel of marketing here for you, and definitely worth taking a look at.
Yeah, and then another one from HubSpot this year was 3 tests our content team ran in 2021 and how they impacted planning in 2022. Um, and these were things around conversion rate optimization and a bunch of A, B, C, D, E tests and what did what and what worked and, basic channel promotions. Again, this is a marketing gold mine. So, if you're looking at, audience growth, how you do things on your website, how you test things, this is a quick little read that basically kind of gives you a lot to think about. As you're basically building out your content planning.
And I think the key there is just to make sure that you run these as nice, proper experiments, right? Define how you're going to pick a winner before you start, right? Don't tweak things during the experiment period, right? And kind of define how long you're going to run this for. And then if you follow that approach, you can get a lot of great learning from running these types of experiments on your content and
Yeah.
lead capture.
And a lot of these experiments can be run out of Zoho PageSense. So if you're a Zoho
That's
One
true.
user, you can do a lot of your A/B testing using Zoho PageSense. There's a lot of stuff you can do there. So Zoho has the tools to help you drive that. So some good reads of the week. And then that takes us to new on Zenatta.com. This is a blog that is a recap of a webinar we did 2 weeks ago with John Mark Bantock on ZPortal. And so, for those of you who like to read, we, instead of watch videos, we basically, this kind of summarizes everything that we talked about in that hour-long webinar and kind of goes through that. And then, of course, you can always watch the webinar there as well. And away you go. I know. See, I've changed now. I've got a new cartoon image for me, by the way, that we're sporting. I don't know if you've
I
seen
think
that or
they
not.
swapped one of mine out too.
Yeah, they did. I've got this new one. I think it's showing up. Let me see here. If I go up to our YouTube channel, I think
We
we've
look
got
so
these hot
professional
new.
now. We've both got like shirt and jackets on, yet I don't think we've ever done an episode of this show with a
Yeah,
shirt and jacket.
I mean, look at
Look at that.
this thing here. I mean, they cartooned me up, and I'm telling you what, I lost like 20 years off my life right there. I might even be in my late 20s, early 30s. I'm liking what the team is doing. So this was my shaggy hair wedding look. So
Yep.
there you
Oh, I
go.
remember that. You
There
were
you
growing it
go.
out to do a man bun, weren't you?
I was gonna grow it out during, yeah, but then, this actually is a photo from, I only got married in May, and so this is one of, I sent a bunch of photos over for the team to use, and so now we're both suit and tying it up, but man, they definitely took the wrinkles out of the face there. I'm liking it, man. So, anyway, good stuff there, team, and with that, let's get on to our pick of the week. Um you got to talk to me about this one. What is going on with this? This is one of your picks. It's called Crankwheel. What is it, Tyler?
Yes, this is called Crankwheel. This is a weird one, but I think once I explain it, you'll get why I think it's so cool. So basically, Crankwheel is a Google Chrome plugin that is used to very quickly and easily deploy a screen share meeting. Now, you might instantly think, okay, well, I can do that in Zoom and I can do that in Microsoft Teams and I can do that in GoToMeeting. Why would I use this tool? So, the beauty of this tool is really targeted for having these types of meetings with people who might not always have your choice of platform downloaded, right? So when you go to join a Zoom meeting and you don't have Zoom downloaded, that user gets prompted over and over, do you want to download this? Oh, it's better local. All of a sudden, they're caught in a loop. You've wasted, 8 minutes of your 20-minute meeting on them getting downloaded and set up, right? And so what Crankwheel does is basically gives them a instant join link that goes directly to a browser. That link will work on any browser. You can click that link and open it in a 3-year out of date Internet Explorer browser, and it's going to open and work just fine. Now, the beauty of it too is that within that, you can actually give them screen control. So, a big use case for this would be if you're selling SaaS or a digital product and you want to actually let a lead poke around and play with the product before they've even signed up. You can very easily get them into a screenshot and hand over screen control. The last little thing that's pretty cool is that it does have a full kind of SDK and API. So if you were to want to like embed this into a web chat widget, right, and kind of open directly to a screen share as a form of lead capture, you can surely do that. So really, it is kind of one of those applications that's weirdly positioned. It's like if this solves that problem for you, then it's the best thing to use for it. If most of the people you're having screen shares with already have your choice of tool downloaded, or if you're doing screen shares after you've already made a sale, you might not need something like this. But if you're looking to deploy a way that any of your customers can just very, very, very easily get into a screen share with you with no prompts to download, no, hey, this is better if it's an app on your PC, none of those, then this is a fantastic tool to do that.
Interesting. So, Dialpad had the same app years ago. What's it called? They had some, I can't even remember the name of it. It's probably not going to come up anymore. But it was a very similar. Now they've still got it. I guess they're calling it Dialpad Screen Share. But that was out there for the longest time. Uber
Mhm.
Conference. Uber Conference. Remember that? And Uber Conference, that's what it was called, was basically the same exact thing. This looks like it would come in handy. I mean, if I look, what's the pricing on this? Um, so your starter team gets you how many people? Unlimited users
Yep.
and up to 100 meetings a month. This is one of those things that it almost feels like it'd be worth having as a backup because there's so often you'll get somebody on Zoom or whatever and nothing's working, right? They just
Yep.
can't get in. And you're right, you do waste those few 20 minutes. So you can just shoot them a link and away you go kind of thing.
Yep. And I think you can even, if you input a phone number, have it text a link to them and they can just get on from their browser. Um,
Nice.
so, yeah, I mean, this is like an example of how we implemented it recently outside of sales is, a customer that needs some information from a client. that they are not allowed to store themselves. And normally, if
Right.
they were doing an in-person transaction, that client would just, turn the screen over to them, they enter something in, and then you turn it back to you. But with everything being remote and digital now, they needed a different fix to basically capture this info at a certain point in a process without ever storing it ourselves. And this is basically, from all the research and monkeying around that I did over last weekend, this is far and away the easiest way to get anyone who has a device connected to the internet that has a browser on it can get into this meeting and take control of the screen with no issues.
Nice. And is it no, not sharing video, just sharing the screen?
You can have it share video, but
Okay.
you don't have to.
Interesting. Interesting. Huh. Well, I'd like to that it's one of the things it seems like you could do this with Zoho Meeting with very little work. I mean,
But it's going to ask you to
just
download.
well, no, but doesn't Zoho Meeting has a full web browser version?
Yep.
And they could make it. You could basically tweak Zoho Meeting on the browser. So, interesting. Anyway, cool app. Very very cool app. Alrighty, and then that takes us to our tip of the week, which kind of ties into the implementation of the week. Um, this is an interesting one. So basically, Tyler, wasn't this an implementation from about a month and a half ago or a month ago?
Yeah, just about a month ago.
And we basically just made a video. Actually, Drew Brockbank, one of our senior consultants, decided to do a full-blown tutorial on this entire thing. And he is stepping you through kind of everything you need to know to connect QuickBooks into Zoho using the workaround we talked about 3 weeks ago, which is basically you pull the data out of QuickBooks, you push it into analytics, then from analytics, you pull it down into the CRM, and we're actually pulling it into a related list. So it gives you all the invoices, everything that's going on with those clients directly from QuickBooks into a related list. Because it's analytics, though, it's on like a 3-hour delay. That seems to be kind of the only drawback with this is that you do have a 3-hour delay, but I think for most people that really wouldn't be much, would it?
Yeah, and the huge advantage of doing it this way is that you're not actually storing the QuickBooks invoice record in CRM. And so, like, anytime that you have two records that are the same in two systems and you have to keep them in sync, you start, expanding out how complicated that development is, right? Where
Right.
any different trigger that happens here needs to write here and then back and forth and back and forth. And so, the beauty of this is that you just set up the very stable sync to analytics. And then when you load an account in the CRM, it just queries the analytics data and surfaces it to you. So you're not actually having to sync anything between CRM and QuickBooks.
Right. And are we going to post the code? That
Maybe.
was one of the questions we got answered. If we do post the code, it will be to Club Zenatta. So if you haven't checked that out, go to Club Zenatta, and we are posting code there. And there's a very good chance we will give away the secret sauce on this one as well. We've had some people ask since this video was posted. So that was our tip of the week. Great job, Drew. And that takes us to our Q&A. As always, do not forget to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. If you're watching us on YouTube now, hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, head over to youtube.com/Zenatta. Click the subscribe, click the reminders for the live show announcements for every time we post a video. Do all of that. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter where you get links to all the news and stories we discussed today over at zenatta.com/newsletter. And with that, let's get into the questions. All right. So Vijaya asks, after watching our 2020 video on CRM finding statistics for mass emails, can I see the same graphical representation of the same? Yes, you can. If you're in the CRM and you're just click on mass emails and just let's say you're in contacts or leads, and you're just basically going to go over and click on that mass email tab, or you're going to click on the more tab and you're going to click on mass emails, and you can look at all your prior ones, and it'll usually be blank unless you have them scheduled. You can schedule one there. You can see which ones are scheduled, and you can look at all the past ones. And if you click into that, it will surface up basically the statistics for that. So
Yeah, and if you did want to see them in more of like, bar charts or pie charts, things like that, the emails data, as long as they're sent from the CRM, actually do show up under your dashboards or analytics section of the CRM. So you can pull them into reports as well as those graphical representations that way.
And then the next question was from Chris DeNicola, and he, after watching our 2020 Zoho Books full product tutorial, said, "How can I associate an expense to a particular invoice I build for a client?" We know this, Tyler?
I don't believe expenses have a direct association to invoices within Zoho Books. If you had like an expense account associated with a particular product on the back end, it would automatically hit that account. But when you are just creating an expense, they don't connect directly to a invoice within Zoho Books.
You can connect it to the client. When you're
Mm-hmm.
doing an expense, you can say this is, expensible, and you can go ahead and connect it to the client. And you know, that's one way of doing it, but it's not going to tie directly to that invoice that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
So, alrighty. And then we had another question on our 2022 CRM Blueprints tutorial. Brian asked, could you guys do the same tutorial for Zoho Recruit? Seems very similar, but slightly different. And then he goes on and on. But then he actually wrote, hey, I was able to fix this. It seems that the starting state must be new. If you use a different starting state name, the entrance criteria for that state, the activate toggle won't appear. This is kind of like one where he has his question and he answered his question. Reading through this, is there anything you want to add to this, Tyler? Because you really did this entire demo.
Yeah, I think that does it. I mean, Recruit's a little more particular on the blueprints, but that is a good fix. If you started out in that new state, then it should enter without you having to do anything to the record after it's created.
All righty. And then we have a question from Mary, who asks, hello, Tyler and Brett. I would like to ask if I can integrate Zoho with Guesty. I hope this question gets noticed. Thanks. And this was on our 2021 CRM full product tutorial. And then Kumar asks, have you done a similar video in detail for activities, pipeline, lead flow, scoring rules, status type, and workflow? So Kumar, not yet, but we will.
Some of them
And
we
have you looked
have.
up Guesty?
We did a
Yeah, some of
workflow.
them.
We did a workflow webinar. We went through all of those, but we haven't done specific videos on the rest.
Yeah, a couple of things around that. You can do it both ways, but if you go to Zenatta.com, um, and you go to our resource library and you click into the application in question, in this case CRM, um, everything we've done on this is actually there. So if you scroll down, you can go into the videos and you could just do a direct search. So in this case, I'm doing one for workflow, and it's basically going to surface up anything we've done around workflow rules. So as you can see, quite a few that are sitting here as it relates to workflows or things that have workflows in them. So, some of these you might need to actually click into it and then, find the timestamp for the particular thing you're looking for. But in a lot of cases, I think we've broken those down. And what about the guesty question? Were you able to look
I
that
did,
up?
yeah, I did take a look at that before our session here today. It does have an API, so it can accept JSON. It has a REST API. That's always a good sign. Um, Mary, the devil is always in the details. So you can integrate with Zoho. You can integrate Zoho with Guesty, meaning you could pass data there. We could get data from Guestly and pull it back to Zoho. The question always is, can we integrate it the way that you need it to be integrated, based on how you're using the two applications? That's where you just have to dive into the workflow and kind of figure out what the needs and use cases are. But at like a top level review, they do have a fully accessible REST API, which means that the answer is very, very likely yes, unless you were doing something really, really different or kind of out of the box with those two applications where you might not be able to make it work. But if you're kind of just using both of those for their standard functions and workflows, it should be totally possible just with some deluge code.
All right, Tyler, and that is going to wrap up another edition of the CRM Zen Show. We want to thank everybody who gives us these shout outs during the week. We really, really, really appreciate it. Got a couple more in this morning. It's just really nice to get all the great and positive feedback. And as always, if you want to reach out to us, you can head over to Zenatta.com or club.zenatta.com and drop us a line.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to all the stories we discussed today. We'd love if you would follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as here on YouTube. We'll see you next Friday.
All right, Freddie, play us out with that smooth jazz.